That's a good boy. That's my Jason.
I started out with this plastic skull, but I didn't want it to be trapped inside the sculpture upon completion. So I wrapped tinfoil around it and 3 layers of paper mache to make kind of like a copy of it. And when that dried, I cut a slit in the back and carefully removed the plastic skull. So I fill this new skull with expanding foam, which makes it solid, and then I impale it onto this wooden stake frame here. And with a little glue, secure it, and some screws in the side here that keeps it from rocking back and forth. And you see the wires here also keep the neck from moving side to side. So this whole frame at this point is very sturdy. It's also very heavy. And I'm filling in the gaps here with tin foil. You just want something for the clay to stick to, and you don't want thick areas of clay because it will crack later. So I'd never really used clay before, so here I'm just kind of getting the hang of it and doing the less important parts first. Just globbing it on and getting the feel for it. But I did totally forget that you're supposed to do the eyeballs first. So very quickly I cut up some ping pong balls and glued those into place. And then I spray painted them white. And I went online and printed out some irises to save time. And started painting the bloodshot. The bloodshot veins ended up being way too wide, and they just didn't look right, so I had to scrub them off, and I redid them here with a single hair to get them as thin as possible. And now that the eyes were done, I went over them with a clear gloss. So next I went outside and measured an axe to get an accurate axe cut. And I used a mask that I painted up to line up the cut on top of the head. Here you see the clay is starting to dry out and crack already. The eyes did take a while to do, so. So next I super glued these rubber teeth onto the bottom jaw. So next I watched some facial reconstruction videos, and this was to learn about each muscle group and to accurately have them where they would be. So basically you're rolling out pieces of clay to represent each muscle and putting them on one by one to get the accurate shapes. So you're in the sides of the head, the jowls of the cheeks, the fatty parts of the chin and the lips. At this point, he's pretty much looking like the Grinch. I was kind of panicked here because it did not look like Jason at this point. I'm doing these muscles still and adding onto the eyebrows and the cheeks. Just getting the general shapes right. Using the reference photo to get his lips. And you want to build it up to the bridge of the nose here. Starting to add some wrinkles. And yeah, bit by bit, you're just adding on clay and then smoothing it out in any area where it needs to expand. So you start doing the lumps of the head, all the skin on top of the head, all the while looking at the reference photos. So next I did the nose, and the ears I did separately and kind of smushed those on. And started doing the final creases in between the eyebrows, on the cheeks, the eyelids. So next I took it outside to actually see it in the sun and get an idea if it was ready to be painted or not. And at this point I decided I liked it and gave it a day or two to dry. So once it was dry, it cracked quite a bit under the ears and around the chin and the neck. But I filled in all the cracks with Mod Podge. And to seal in the clay, you want to use a coat of something. So I mixed Mod Podge and brown paint and did 3 very thin coats over the entire sculpture before painting it. And to paint it, I dry brushed a light tan over the entire sculpture. And that was looking way too bright. So I darkened all the creases by hitting it with washes. I used a lot of pink washes, brown washes, black washes, all over in all the creases. So here you see it again after some more details. I did do the glossy blood, some liver spots on his head, the very thin blue veins. And here you can kind of really see the details. It's a little chalky. It's not, I mean, it is a clay sculpture. It doesn't look as realistic as like the bust you're used to seeing, the silicone or rubber or whatever they use. But I think it's pretty cool.